Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Before starting, subscribe and like the videos, it really helps. The content from this video are taken from the web novel and manga series of Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. Now please enjoy the video. Part 2. The members going into the labyrinth are 5 people. Paul, Elinalise, Geese, Talhand, and I. Elinalise and I replaced Vera and Shira. Since the labyrinth is narrow, even if we try to enter with a large number, we'll just end up being a hindrance to each other, it seems. In order for Elinalise to replace Vera and I to replace Shira, it became a formation where we completely stole away their job. Elinalise the tank, Paul the sub-attacker. I'm the attacker and healer. Talhand can become both sub-tank and sub-attacker. These 4 are in charge of the combat side. Talhand's role is somewhat vague. It seems he can use earth magic up to intermediate level. However, it seems he plays it by ear as a magic warrior. Since he's the utility type, supposedly he can fight anywhere. Even though he looks clumsy, he's quite skillful. No, all dwarves were skillful, weren't they? Looking forward to working with you. It seems he'll end up standing right in front of or right behind me. He patted my shoulder with a sociable feeling. For some reason, I got chills down my back. Rudy is fundamentally in charge of the magic. After the combat ends, we'll depend on you for the healing as well. Can you do it? No problem. Offense and recovery. Even though it's my first time in a labyrinth, I have numerous plain jobs. However, during the time when I was an adventurer, my role was something like that as well. I'm sure there's nothing we can't do. With these 4 people, Geese is added on. He's useless in combat, but he can perform everything outside of that at a high level. Confirming the map, establishing the direction to advance, management of food, sorting the raw materials. He has the judgment to withdraw from the labyrinth as well. He works as the control tower and does odd jobs. I guess it would become a feeling like a director, since exploring labyrinths isn't just about combat, naturally, as it is having someone take on roles like this is necessary. The remaining 3 people, it's become that Vera, Shira, and Lilia waiting on standby at the entrance of the city on support duty. You could call it house sitting, but it seems this itself is an important job in its own way. At the time when large clans explore a labyrinth, I've heard that they assign people to house sitting. The majority of the preparations can be left to Elinalise and Talhand, the pros. I'm an amateur when it comes down to exploring labyrinths. If I make use of my knowledge from my previous life, then I can think of this and that, but at the present I'll put that aside. First, I'll follow along the pros' way of doing things, and then, if there are any parts that I can think of something, it would be fine if I make a suggestion. A suggestion? In my knowledge from my previous life, I don't know if the things I learned from roguelike type games will be effective. First, it's about our initial objective, but it's the 3rd floor. After deciding on the formation, Paul declared that, there, we'll make clear of Roxy's whereabouts. We don't know if Roxy is alive or not. However, in the case that she's alive, after we secure her, we'll return at once from the labyrinth. Depending on the condition Roxy is in, we'll have her join the party after she has recovered and then venture even deeper into the labyrinth. The 6 of us will check the 4th floor and beyond, which we haven't been able to reach yet. And there, after we arrive to the greatest depths, we'll search thoroughly all around and try to find Zenith, who is believed to be there. We don't know how many days it will take. It's become a wait and watch exploration. Part 3. That night, it became that I would be sleeping in the same room as Paul and Lilia. It seems to have been the technician Gisu's refined way of creating a space for just us family. Even though I say that, the time I've spent with Lilia not as family is longer. Since the time I was born up until having my sister, she was a maid after all. I can't help but see her as a maid. Paul sees Lilia as a wife, but as a second wife. Zenith is number 1, Lilia is number 2. I wonder if Norn would be number 3. Aisha would be 4th, and I'm even further below, I guess. It's the first time I've slept in the same room as Rudeus-sama, isn't it? That's right. Speaking of Lilia, she seems to give off a respectful attitude in the atmosphere, as if she only sees Paul and I as her employers. Being brought along with that atmosphere, I became somewhat respectful myself. Husband's snoring is loud, so without reservation please order me. However, the contents of Lilia's words were light and overflowing with humor. Ah, yes, in regards to that I was unable to return it, overflowing with humor. What it would be good to talk about, I don't know well. How did I use to talk with Lilia again? During the time we were in Buina village, I feel it was considerably businesslike. Since a while ago Paul has done nothing but look at me and hasn't said anything. I wonder what it is. It's a strange face. It's not quite to the level of a grin, but his cheeks are becoming loose, that face. Rudeus-sama. Yes, what is it? Is Aisha getting along properly? I thought over the answer to Lilia's question. The topic of our family. That's right, we're family. Then, it would be fine to talk about the family. Yes. Aisha is giving it her best. She hasn't done anything to trouble Rudeus-sama. Yeah, nothing at all. She takes care of all the cleaning as well, it's a big help. Is that so? It's fine if she hasn't said anything selfish. If she would be a bit more selfish, then it would be more comfortable for me though. After saying that, Lilia quietly smiled. It was a smile of relief. How about Norn Oho-sama and Aisha? Have they been getting into fights? That's right, there's some awkwardness, but for the time being there's no conspicuous antagonism. The fights are almost charming. I told her to always stand down to Norn Oho-sama, but why did it end up becoming like that? While saying that, Lilia let out a sigh. It can't be helped. Aisha is still a child as well. Isn't it important for the parents to give them an equal amount of love? I see, that might be the case. Aisha is my child, but since she has husband's blood in her as well, things like blood don't matter at all, do they? We're family after all. Thank you very much. Paul didn't enter into the conversation. He was just listening to my exchange with Lilia since before with the same expression and thinking about something. What is it, Dad? Since just now, you've been grinning. No, somehow, it's nice, I was just thinking. While scratching the back of his head, Paul's face went red as he seemed to be embarrassed. What is? That Rudy has properly become an adult, and the scene of him talking to Lilia. The exchange between his adult son and his wife Lilia isn't my mother, but in regards to Paul they're both family. It might be deeply moving. Maybe it's something I'll understand as well when my child grows up. Come to think of it, Rudy, you got married, didn't you? Yeah. Just about half a year ago. I see, to think that Rudy would, just that other time we met, even though you were still this small. My height has grown considerably over these past few years after all. Before I realized it, my height had gotten to about the same as Paul. I'd say around 170 centimeters. Paul is a bit taller, but I might still grow a bit more. I think I might eventually overtake him. It won't be good if we don't have a grand celebration with everyone when we return. That's right. After all, Dad, it's your first grandchild. You'll be Paul Oji-chan. Stop that. I'm still not that old after all. Even while saying that, Paul was making a face like he didn't hate it, and then it changed to a smile. That you've made a child, you mean, Rudy? You've become a man as well now, right? Husband, I don't know if you should be saying anything too vulgar. Paul, with a grinning old man-like smile floating on his face, rebuked Lilia. Isn't it fine? You know, I always wanted to have this sort of talk with Rudy once. However, I'm sure you're interested as well, about Rudy. I feel that it's unfair to use that way of saying it. And, who was your first partner? After all, Sylphy, or else maybe Aris. If I remember, you said you separated, but didn't it come down to that kind of talk when you separated? It seems Paul wants to have some vulgar boys talk. I do have a part that wonders if it's alright to talk about that at this kind of time though. Well, it's not like I don't understand. It's been the first time he's seen me in a while, and I'm sure Paul is in high spirits as well. I'm sure he just wasn't able to make this sort of face in front of everyone earlier. I have some parts where I'm happy to see Paul again for the first time in a while as well. Since Paul and I get along well after all. The day after tomorrow we're entering the Labyrinth, that sort of composure will disappear. For just today, it should be fine to unfasten that restraint and talk about it. Dad has a bit of confidence in regards to that. After all, I'll hear you out on it all. Even if I look like this, during the time when Dad was young I played around quite a bit after all. It can't be helped. Why don't I keep you company then? This sort of partner that I can frankly talk about out in the open like this, it's only somewhat, but I felt I wanted it as well. That's right. Then there are a number of things I want to ask about though, really now, even Rudeus-sama. Lilia is saying it like this, but if it comes down to the other side she's quite intense. Husband. Come to think of it, at some point already, there was a time when Lilia-san tempted you, right? Please tell me about the situation at that time in detail. Even Rudeus-sama, please stop it, really. While watching us like that, Lilia let out a voice with a sigh mixed in. However, that face was smiling. After that, we continued to talk like that until late into the night. Part 4, Late Night. The lights are out and I'm laying sideways on the bed. I wonder if Paul and Lilia are already asleep. On the bed nearby I can hear a steady sleeping breath. It seems the two won't start messing around after confirming that I'm asleep. Paul did say he was trying to abstain until Zenith is found. I'm sure he's properly abiding by that. I got a bit excited from the talk with Paul and I can't sleep. I couldn't have ever possibly thought that the day would come where I have real experience and can take part in the arrow talk. In life you really never know what can happen. Well, putting that aside, in regards to the matters this time, after all, this time I might be dancing in Hitagami's palms again. I have such a feeling. Thinking about it, the only reason I was able to obtain that book was because I went to the Magic University. If I hadn't gone to the Magic University and been told to investigate the teleport incident, I would have never encountered that book and been in a situation to challenge the teleport labyrinth without anything. That suggestive Hitagami's speech was the same as well. Whether I regret it and about putting my hands on Rinia or Pursena, I have the feeling like he spoke in such a way that he knew I would oppose him. If Hitagami hadn't said anything, or else if Hitagami had said to go, I have the feeling that the probability that I would have stayed would be high. I've had rebellious feelings towards the Hitagami after all, and it might be about the same weight as things with Sylphy on that scale. In that case, I'm sure I wouldn't have just done something irresponsible. For example, I might have tried to dispatch Raijerd, Batagati, or otherwise Zoldat. I wonder if the Hitagami acted while anticipating all of that. All of the things that I would need to rescue Zenith, I went to the school in order to obtain. I wonder what in the world the human god, Hitagami, is, really. I wonder what he wants me to do. Could it be that he really just finds it enjoyable to watch me? The same as always, I don't know what his endgame is. There's no mistake that he's my ally. I wonder if he might show up again around tonight. That timing would be way too convenient, I guess. If things go well, then I'll give something to him as an offering. Though I don't know what that guy likes, so I don't know if he'll be happy. While thinking that I fell asleep, Hitagami never appeared in my dream. That's it guys, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want more and don't forget to like the videos.